What makes good design? Well, if you ask a designer, it all starts with function. How well something is made so that it can fulfill its purpose. But if you ask a guitar player the same question, he'll give you a different answer. Music is an audio art form, but there's no denying that visual appeal plays just as important a role in defining the musician's art. And since the dawn of rock and roll, the instruments that the musicians play have been a big part of that visual expression. So ask a typical guitar player, what is a really well-designed electric guitar? They'll say,
"Looks sick! Made from thunder! Constructed from the thoughts of Eddie Van Halen! Looks sick!"
How about ease of use?
Huh?
Well, don't you think comfort is important? I mean, how easy something is to use, how ergonomic it is, don't you think that will make you play the instrument better? We've seen numerous guitar designs through the years, but the ones that have truly stood the test of time can actually be narrowed down to just a few handful. And that has to do with playability. Because sadly, not every great sounding and great looking guitar is actually practical or easy to use. And so if you take those three factors, playability, sound, looks, here is my list of the best designed electric guitars ever. But before we start, a few caveats. First of all, the guitar has to be mainstream, meaning it must be available to the global public so people from any part of the world could go out and buy it. Also, the guitar has to be stock, meaning it's not modified. So forget seeing Eddie's Frankenstein guitar on this list.
Wait, those things are mass-produced now.
Fair point, fair point. But lastly, the guitar must be in production for at least 5 years, meaning they cannot be limited edition runs. And clearly have stood the test of time as viable and playable instruments for every guitar player. And so, on to the list. Number 10, the BC Rich Warlock. Before it became the icon of rebel cool thanks to Stranger Things, this was the guitar that truly captured the allure of extreme metal. Introduced in 1981 by BC Rich, the guitar found the market among guitar players who wanted a fast-playing axe that also had the foreboding aesthetics of the genre. It had a neck-through construction, meaning the neck and body were one piece of wood. It also featured DiMarzio humbucker pickups for a thick tone that worked well with high-gain distortion, and the ever more scooped mids. And the looks. It screamed vampirism, war paint, spikes, and the wrath of the unholy one, but in a way that still had balance and ergonomic curves, so you can summon the dark forces while sitting comfortably in your home. Number 9, the Fender Jazzmaster. The Fender Jazzmaster was introduced in 1958 as a high-end instrument for jazz musicians. However, it was quickly rejected by jazz players who found it too noisy and feedback-prone. Instead, it found its true calling as the guitar of choice for surf rock bands and the alternative rockers of the late 80s and early 90s. The guitar has an offset body, 2 single coil pickups, and a vibrato tailpiece. It came with a rocket ship dashboard of switches, which gave players numerous possibilities for their tone. But it's mainly known for its jangly sound, which is highly influenced by its predecessor, the Fender Stratocaster. This made it a great choice for music that needs clean, crispy tones and raw, overdriven high ends in equal measure. Number 8, the PRS Custom 24. The PRS Custom 24 was introduced by Paul Reed Smith in 1985. It was designed to be a high-quality, American-made guitar on par with any model produced by the giants Fender and Gibson. The Custom 24 has a solid mahogany body, a 25.5-inch scale length, and a 24-fret ebony fingerboard with the now trademark bird inlays. It was equipped with 2 humbucking pickups and a tremolo system. Today, PRS guitars are known for their great quality and consistency. They're a fantastic alternative to the usual pick of popular high-end guitars, and this was the model that started that reputation. Not to mention that it learned from the flaws of earlier popular guitars and improved on them with some smart design decisions, like this headstock that lets strings stay more in tune. No wonder it was quickly picked up by the most respected musicians in the last 30 years. Number 7, the Gretsch White Falcon. Believe it or not, no one was supposed to own this guitar.
No one?
No one.
Not even this guy?
Nope.
Or this guy?
Nuh-uh.
How about this guy?
Well, yes, that came later. But in the beginning, the white Falcon was really designed to just be a showpiece prototype. Gretsch's lead designer, Jimmy Webster, wanted to create the equivalent of a concept car, a model that only showcased a vision as opposed to a final end product. And in this case, a vision of what a hollow body guitar could be when made with high quality material and flashy gold appointments. So guess what? When it was unveiled in the 1954 NAMM show, everyone wanted it. I mean, who can resist this beautiful, solid mahogany body with a maple top, 2 Filtertron pickups, and a Bigsby vibrato tailpiece? An elegant look and a unique creamy sound, it works just as well for jazz and blues as it does for rock and rockabilly. Number 6. The Gibson SG. What do you do when you've been dominating the market for ages, and then suddenly the competition comes up with a more popular product?
You go hard.
You think. You analyze the things that could be better and the things that should stay as they are, which is exactly what Gibson did with the SG, their answer to the Fender Stratocaster back in 1961. It was made to be the evolution of the Gibson Les Paul, but with features made to compete with the Strat. A lighter body, beveled edges that are kinder to the belly area, and double cutaways for reaching the higher frets. And the shape, instantly recognizable and coincidentally fitting with a new genre of music that its early proponents would end up shaping: heavy metal. And what do you do once you have the perfect answer to your competition?
You think.
You go hard. You put it out in the market and watch it define the sound and look of an era. It would later resurface in the early 2000s as the guitar of choice for emo bands who wanted a thick Gibson tone in a lightweight package, letting them rock out on stage without straining their shoulders. Number 5. The Gibson Firebird. Believe it or not, this now iconic guitar was designed by someone who knew nothing about the instrument.
Believe it or not, he's not the only non-guitar designer on this list either.
But what he does know a lot about are cars. Ray Dietrich was hired by Gibson in 1963 to design a bold new guitar, and Dietrich took inspiration from his field of expertise: automobiles. He gave the Firebird a unique look, highlighted by these edges that resembled the tail fins of cars in the 50s. But beyond that, the instrument had a whole list of features never before seen on a mass-market electric guitar. To begin with, the neck-through construction, meaning the upper and lower parts of the body are like wings glued to a central structure. The guitar also had banjo-style tuners, which hid the tuning heads from view, and were also surprisingly adept at keeping the strings in tune. And the sound, brought to you by a unique set of humbuckers that produce what many claim is the middle ground between the rich tones of the Les Paul and the bright twang of a Telecaster. This is personally one of my favorite guitars of all time, if only it came with a more practical hard case. Number 4. The Ibanez RG. The shredder explosion of the late 80s has one particular guitar to thank: this one. Released in 1987, it was the more mainstream version of the Steve Vai signature gem model. It has shredder features galore, from the deep cutaways to the super thin neck, from the flat fingerboard to the extended fret range with 24 frets as standard. It also came with the Ibanez double locking tremolo bridge system called Edge, making those dive bombs a breeze, while the Ibanez humbucker, single coil, humbucker, pickup combo offered a plethora of tonal options. However, there are those who claim that there is little that's original in the looks department.
Didn't Ibanez start off by making copies of Gibson and Fender models?
Yeah, they did. But there's no denying that the RG's sharp-edged cutaways have become so iconic that it is now almost as recognizable as the guitar that Ibanez once emulated. So if we're talking super strats, this is the one that has truly stood the test of time, and it continues to evolve today, 30 years after it was first introduced. Number 3. The Gibson Les Paul. Here it is, the most popular guitar among my YouTube viewers, and for good reasons too. First introduced in 1952, The first generation Les Pauls featured a solid mahogany body with a carved maple top and a single cutaway, a mahogany set and neck with a rosewood fingerboard, 2 pickups with independent volume and tonal controls, and a stop-tail bridge. The Les Paul was originally offered with a gold finish and 2 P90 pickups, but would later come with the PAF humbuckers that would give the instrument its famous thick, warm tone, and the flame top finish that served as the perfect visualization of this sound. The Les Paul was partly designed by its namesake, the guitar player and instrument tinkerer Les Paul. Les Paul initially intended this guitar to address the demands of jazz and big band musicians of the 50s, but instead the guitar's sleek curves and thick tone made it the instrument of choice for bands looking to go heavier and harder in the 60s, combining the guitar with new amplifier technology that allowed for a dirtier, louder sound. Today the Les Paul continues to be the go-to guitar for a lot of famous rock stars, but as with all popular music products, it does have its detractors, many of whom complain about the lack of tuning stability and the guitar's back-breaking weight. And yet when new innovations are introduced to address these issues, you get just as many people complaining and asking the company to please go back to the basics. Yes, that's right, its fans love the old design so much, they pretty much wish it could stay that classic way forever.
You mean standard?
I mean standard. Number 2. The Fender Stratocaster. The famous designer Raymond Loewy once said that key to creating an innovative design is the Maya principle, which is basically
To appease the gods by offering a human sacrifice in the temple of Chichen Itza.
What?
And make sure that the world does not end by resetting the calendar cycle of reality.
That makes no sense.
Bring on the sacrifice from the book of the Chiambalam Abaluga.
No. The Maya principle is a term coined by French-born American industrial designer Raymond Loewy. It stands for most advanced, yet most acceptable. What that means is a good fresh design is one that introduces new ideas yet presents them in a way that is still palatable to its intended audience. And that's exactly what the Fender Stratocaster was when it was unveiled in 1954, designed by a team headed by Leo Fender.
And here's the other guy who designed the guitar without knowing how to play one.
True, but Leo was a genius. Imagine a market dominated by the Gibson Les Paul. Then out comes this lightweight guitar with a double cutaway, contoured body, and bolt-on neck. Couple that with 3 single coil pickups offering a rich array of tones that elevated or even defined so many different genres of music, from pop to funk to psychedelic rock. Then the tremolo system, which lets you do all sorts of crazy tricks. All of these were big wow factors when the Stratocaster entered the market in the 50s, and yet it all came in a product that somehow captured the design aspirations of the era, making it not just acceptable, but very desirable. If you want to learn more about this iconic instrument, check out the full episode I've made about the Fender Stratocaster by clicking this link above. And so we move on to the best designed electric guitar of all time. But before we do, here are some contenders that didn't quite make the list, but still warrant an honorable mention. The Gibson Flying V, probably the guitar that started the trend for crazy, aggressive shapes. Unfortunately, it's a pain to play sitting down. The Steinberger GL. Believe it or not, there was a good reason behind the design, which was to eliminate unnecessary weight, i.e. an unbalanced headstock. It was also made with a carbon fiber body, which gave it a unique synthetic sound. The Rickenbacker 360. Loved by all the guitar greats looking for that jangly sound, this guitar matched its unmistakable tone with an equally iconic body shape. And now we go to number 1, the Fender Telecaster. The top guitar in the list also happens to be the oldest, which is testament to the lasting qualities of its design. First introduced in 1950 under the name the Fender Broadcaster, this instrument truly redefined the industry and the music world as a whole. The name was later changed to the Telecaster to avoid a trademark conflict with Gretsch, but the guitar retained all the qualities that made it unique from the very start. To begin with, the silhouette. Early electric guitars followed the silhouette of their acoustic counterparts, as if the electric guitar was simply a regular steel string acoustic with electric components. The Telecaster did it differently. It came out with an iconic shape featuring a single cutaway carved out of a solid mahogany body, because its inventor, Leo Fender, understood that a solid slab of wood was more suitable to an electric instrument based on his previous experience with Hawaiian steel guitars. Then for the first time, the neck was not glued into the body, but rather was screwed into place. This allowed the guitar to be produced in mass quantity at a more affordable price, putting the instrument in the hands of more musicians than ever before. Then the electronics. The two pickup configuration was truly revolutionary, allowing musicians to access so many different tones. We take it for granted now, but it was the Telecaster which first introduced the idea of an electric guitar being able to produce so many different kinds of sounds, from bright plucky tones to darker, more nasally ones, brought about by Fender's own single coil pickups, which could be tempered using the three-way selector and the volume and tone knobs. Unlike many existing guitars at the time, the Telecaster strings were pulled straight over the nut, with all the tuners on one side of the headstock. This was different from the more common 3 tuners aside design of the time, and allowed the Telecaster to offer better tuning stability. Over 70 years after it was first introduced, the Fender Telecaster is still a staple in popular music. From country to blues, from rock to pop, from funk to punk, the Telecaster continues to make its mark thanks to its great sound, playability, and simple yet instantly recognizable visual appeal. Not bad for a guitar that was designed by someone who didn't even play the instrument. I mean, that alone is a great feat.
Yeah, you said it.
So there you have it, my top 10 best designed electric guitars of all time. Of course, a list like this is always going to invite debate and discussions. So if you guys have any thoughts, whether you guys agree or disagree with my list, feel free to drop a comment below. And let me know if you like these kinds of videos, because we definitely have a few ideas for the next ones. Till next time, this is Michael Fillon, aka LOUDMIKEDXB, wishing you always fill your days with love, laughter, and lots of good music. Peace.